Hi viewers, this video is about landscape and home gardening related to softscape, that is plant forms, and hardscape types and their texture. It will also highlight the importance of texture gradation in landscape. What is softscape? They are basically the plant forms which are well established and standardized. You will see they are consistent and recognizable. Every plant form has a characteristics. It will be particular to a particular plant, and they are dependent on the viewing perspective also. We have different plants, they all have the different forms which are recognizable and they are consistent also. Or it's also from the perspective, viewing perspective, tree form can appear different to a person under the canopy versus a tree from a distance. So we have the plant forms, softscape, which is basically used in the landscape because of their particular form. What are the common tree forms first? We have different types of tree forms here: round, columnar, oval, pyramidal, vase-shaped, and weeping. Different tree forms are used for visual appeal. See, form is also important for function, because a particular tree with a particular form will be used for a particular function. Suppose we have a round or an oval tree. It's for creating a shady areas in the garden. You have columnar or pyramidal type of a plant that will be used as a screen. You have a weeping tree that forms a good focal point. So different types of trees are located in a garden as per the requirement. Some can be for resting, some can be for screening, and some can be for shading or giving a focal point. So these are the common tree forms which have a role in a landscape. Then there are also shrub plant forms. See, difference between the tree and the shrub is shrubs have multiple stems originating from the base point, and the tree has a one main stem which gives branches. We have different types of shrubs. Broadly speaking, one is upright vase, which will be having a vertical growth and open center like hydrangea. This is how this upright vase will look like. Then there will be arching. Arching will have the different types of branching which are drooping, curved branches, fountain-like, as we have forsythia. There are mounding forms. They will be compact, grounded, dome-like. They are wider than tall. So there are, suppose this form, it has a broader base and it will be wider here than taller. Examples can be azalea or boxwood. Rounded is one which is a perfect round, a globe-shaped dense growth. Holly can be the best example. Spiky are one which have number of, so rounded are these, and the spikies which have a sharp pointed branches. As you have yucca, you have agave. Then there are cascading. Cascading has number of multiple trailing branches. They branches downward, as we have creeping juniper. Or there are irregular, which have unique unpredictable shape. Spirea, viburnum, these are the some of the shrub forms, shrub plant forms. Here is hydrangea. It is basically one which is an upright vase type, and then you have forsythia, which is arching, boxwood and azalea, they are mounding, and holly is a rounded one, globe-like structure. Yucca is here and agave is there, and then these are creeping, which are juniper, as well as the irregular one, which is viburnum. These are some of the plants which are used in a garden because of their particular shapes. Then is the ground cover forms. Ground cover forms, plants are smart choices for a lush, low maintenance landscape. Basically, they look better when they are small. They are ground hugging plants. They can be of following types: matting type, that is, they will be together, low growing, dense cover. One example of ground cover plant will be thyme. Spreading, they'll be aggressive spreaders. They will be spreading like anything, that is, aggressive spreaders. They have horizontal types of the stems. Vinica and ivy is an example for it. Clumping is they have a tight clusters, as we have certain grasses, mondo grasses there. They are in the form of clumps, and which is they are a bunch of bushes like. Sprawling will be loose, trailing like juniper and sedum. So there are sprawling type, and there will be also a short spikes. Short spikes have very small types of upright flower spikes like lavender, rosemary. So these are the ground cover forms which play a very important role in covering the ground and making it aesthetically more beautiful, and also shapes the landscape. We have here a thyme, which is basically a matting type. Jenny is a matting type. Creeping Jenny is a matting type also. And then we have Vinica minor and ivy, they are spreading type. And then there is mondo grass, and liriope is also a type of this clumping type of a bush. And then juniper and sedum are basically sprawling type, because they are along with the ground. These are sedum and the juniper. And then also here I have a lavender and the rosemary, which is basically having the short spikes. So this is the ground cover plant form. After this, there is an important thing, is the texture. Texture refers to the surface quality of plants, or texture is an open term. It can depict the smoothness or the roughness of a surface or a substance. That can be a non-living substance also. So in landscape design, texture means when a plant surface, that is the shape of a plant surface, or it can be a hardscape material also. So texture is evident in all parts of the plant body. You can see the size and the shape of the leaves. You can see the branching pattern of the plant. You can see the bark of the plant, whether it is smooth or it is rough. So that plant body, parts of the plant body have different textures. Texture affects the perception of distance and scale. We will discuss it in the next slide. See, texture inventory is being made when you are designing a garden. That texture inventory for the plants as well as for the hardscape helps landscape designer to decide the arrangement of the plant material, because ordering of the plant material in the garden is very important aspect of landscape designing. Broadly speaking, plant textures are of three types: a coarse texture, a medium texture, or a fine texture. So plant characteristics that create texture. Every plant has a different characteristics by which we can say, is it a coarse texture, is it a medium texture, or a fine texture. First of all, a coarse texture plant will have large leaves, and the leaves will be irregular edges. It will be bold and deep veins. It can be variegated or differently colored. It can have thick twigs and branches, leaves and twigs with spines or thorns. It can be bold, thick, and irregular form. And a coarse texture is more dominant in color and form because of its large size. it appears more dominant in color as well as the form. So the plants which have these characteristics will be considered from the landscape point of view as coarse textured plants. And then medium texture is one which has a medium sized leaves with simple shapes and smooth edges. So here are the irregular edges, here is the smooth edges, and the branches are less spaced, that is, they are compact together, typically rounded or mounding form. What will be the fine texture now? They will be fine, they will be small foliage, thin, strappy leaves like grasses, tall, thin stems, tiny, dense twigs, small branches, long stems as we have seen in vines, small but horizontal, small delicate flowers. They are often described as wispy and light or with a sprawling form. As you see in this picture, you can see the fine plants, and then you can see the medium type of the plants, and then you will see these are the coarse types which can have an irregular edges, and this will be a fine also. So these are three types of plant textures: coarse, medium or fine. Then these coarse, medium and fine textured plants, some of the examples will be given here. Plants with coarse texture, example will be philodendrons, agaves, bromeliads, palms, hydrangeas. Plants with medium texture, example agapanthus, odysseia, camellia, unimus, pittosporum, viburnum. Plants with fine texture, example will be grasses, ferns, Japanese maple, junipers with fine needles. So we'll see them in the next slide, some of the forms which are given here, which are basically the plants with coarse texture. Here, broad-leaved plants. There will be a philodendron. These are the types of the philodendron. Agave will be pointed. This will be also coarse texture. Then there will be bromeliads, fan palm, hydrangeas. These are some of the examples of broad-leaved which will be having a coarse texture. Some other examples are given here, which are there's an elephant ear is here, coarse spike of the yucca is here. These are also the plants with the coarse texture because of their leaf structure and size. Then there are the medium textured plants. Agapanthus is here, odysseia is, camellia is there, and pittosporum is there. And these are some of the plants which have a medium type of a texture. Also plants which have a fine textured plants. The fine textured plants will be having small leaves. They can be spiky, they will be with small leaves together compact. And these are some of the examples of fine textured plants. Now the question is, this plant texture will be used for texture gradation. What we mean by the texture gradation and how this texture gradation or texture progression is used in landscape. To make a space feel larger, if you have a garden, you want that there should be a perception that the space is larger, though it cannot be larger. You have to locate your plants, fine texture along the outer perimeter, medium texture in the middle, coarse texture closest to the weaver. Now you have a situation, coarse to the weaver, then medium, then the fine texture. This technique is called as texture gradation, or it is called as texture progression. By placing plants with different textures in an above order, that is, front you keep coarse, medium and then the fine, to create an illusion of depth and make a space feel larger. It is a gradual change in texture from coarse to fine in composition to create an illusion of depth or distance. So By placing the different textured plants in a particular sequence or an order, you will create an illusion that will give an impression whether the space looks larger or the space looks compact or texture gradation or texture progression. You use bigger textures in front, smaller ones behind to create a depth. So you have a fine texture which is in the outer perimeter. Because they have delicate small leaves, they create a sense of distance, making space feel larger. It creates a feeling of openness, lightness and spaciousness in a space. So when you place a fine texture, that will make the space airy or an open space. You have a medium textured plants which can be middle ground. They provide a transition zone, guiding the eye through the space without drawing attention away from the fine texture. So when we have the coarse texture that is closest to the viewer, the coarse texture has a bold, large leaved plants create a sense of depth. They draw the viewer's eye into the space, and coarse texture plants attract the eye due to light and dark contrasts of the shadow. So when you are putting the coarse texture in front and medium texture in the transition zone and the fine texture away from that's towards the perimeter, you are creating a situation that this space looks larger. And this can be explained with a simple example. Suppose you are looking down on a path. Now you have a path. At the front, you are keeping a coarse textured, big leaved plants. That coarse textured plants, which is at the front of the path, what that will do, that grabs attention and it looks very closer. And then in the middle of it, in the medium size, you put medium plants that will guide the eye. So your eye is focused here because of more visual weight, but it is making your eye to pass through this will guide the eye. And then at the hinder end, that's the back, you are keeping the small leaves, that's a fine texture, and it looks far and creates a depth. So you are creating the layers of a depth by placing coarse, medium and the fine. As such, the space appears larger. If you will reverse the order, the space will look very small. You will feel a space is smaller because you are keeping the fine texture which has a less visual weight at the front. I hope you have understood this texture gradation, which is very important in landscape because this layering makes the path feel longer. When you are layering it with coarse, medium and the fine texture, it looks longer, it looks larger. And if you reverse the order, so texture gradation is very important for creating a perception of a space. Similarly, in hardscape also, as you have seen in the softscape, when you are using the plants, hardscape is which is the non-living hard elements, which can be tiles, which can be rough finished bricks, which can be other materials, non-living materials. So hardscape with coarse texture creates visual contrast, making plants stand out. Now you are using in hardscape as well as the softscape. Suppose in hardscape you are using a coarse type of a hardscape. What that will create? That creates a visual contrast in comparison to the plants, that makes plants stand out, and rough texture minimizes distance and plants appear closer and the space feels smaller. So if you have kept a coarse hardscape nearer, it will create space feel smaller. because coarse texture absorbs and reflects light differently. As a result, it is enhancing shadows, emphasizing plant details, and this visual complexity minimizes perceived space. As a result, making plants feel closer and the area seem smaller. So you can use here rough cut stones, rough finished bricks, unfinished wood with knots and raised grains. So these are some of the examples of a rough texture hardscape. In this rough texture hardscape, what you are doing, you are using a rough texture. This is the rough texture, which are stones. Here are bricks, here is a wood, and these are the tiles which are not finished tiles. So what you will see here, rough texture. This rough texture, it absorbs and reflects light differently. Different shadows will be there, and what will happen, it will enhance the shadows. As a result, plants appear closer, so space feels smaller. When you use a hardscape which is coarse in nature, that will lead a space to appear smaller. Similarly, if you use a hardscape as a fine textured exaggerates the distance. It gives the feeling of a larger, more open space. Fine textured hardscape reflects more light uniformly and create cohesive appearance. It's the reverse of a coarse textured hardscape. So it reflects light uniformly, absorbs light uniformly, reflects light uniformly, and there will be a consistency in texture. It gives an illusion of continuity and openness. A lack of shadows makes space appear more open, contributing to a sense of larger and open surrounding. See how a fine textured hardscape is affecting the viewing perspective. So if you here, this is a soft hardscape, this is a soft hardscape, these are soft vases, this is soft vase, and how this area looks when you have a soft textured hardscape. Because of more uniformity, less absorption, more reflections, uniform reflections, this area looks open. It gives the area, you feel that area is more open and larger as compared to the coarse texture. Here also you will see the area looks open. You see here is an important contrast. This is a fine textured this vase, and here you will see the coarse texture. Now it should have looked very small space, but because of this smoothness, it looks area is open. This is how a texture creates an illusion in your perception. And so you see these structures which are here similarly have a type of a medium type of a texture, hardscape texture, that can be as flagstone pavers. These are flagstone pavers, or there can be concrete broom fresh, there can be a broom finished concrete. These are standard flagstone pavers and broom brushed concrete. Their finished wood can be there. Often a sense of both openness and defined structure. So the hardscape with a medium texture, it creates a balanced and a visually engaging environment. So this is how basically a landscaper also uses the hardscape texture gradation to create a layered garden. So both hardscape as well as the softscape material which is used in landscape is to be given in such an order that landscape designer is planning to do, making a space larger or the smaller depends upon its requirements. So Thanks for joining on this gardening journey. If you liked this video, hit the like button and subscribe the channel for more video and shorts. Thank you and see you in the next video.